Hey, boys and girls. Y'all know that today in class we learned all about absolute value. And I've created a video based upon the notes that we took in class today um, to just kind of help reiterate what we've learned. Y'all know that sometimes, especially if you're like me, hearing something a second or a third time, that repetition just kind of helps make it click and make more sense. So today's video is all about what we did in class, and hopefully it will help you with your homework and it'll help you be better prepared for the test on Friday. We've learned, especially through the vocabulary words that I gave to you, absolute value is the distance of a number from zero. And you know, I've told you over and over again, number lines are your best friend when you're talking about integers and ordering integers and absolute value. So don't ever be afraid to double check yourself by using and drawing a number line. In class, I told you there were four different things that I wanted you to remember about absolute value. The first of which is that absolute value has a symbol that looks like goalpost in football. And remember, a symbol is simply a marking of some kind that stands for something. And for absolute value, whenever you see these two parallel lines that look like goalposts on the football field, that is instantly the universal sign to tell you that you're trying to find the absolute value of something. I told you that when you drew the absolute value symbol, the number that you're looking for the absolute value of needs to kind of be floating between those two parallel lines. If you look at this different example, that I have a little bitty line here, a little bitty line here, and a 3 in the center of it, to where I do not want you to make it look like that, because that looks like the number 131. It needs to have the two goalposts with a number floating between it. The second thing I wanted you to remember is that absolute value takes into account every number's distance from zero, be it positive or a negative number, because every number takes up some space between itself and zero. Remember the example of, if I told you I ran 2 miles, would it make any sense for me to tell you that distance was -2? No, that just doesn't make any sense. Every single number, be it a positive number or a negative number, takes up some amount of space, and it has units between it and zero that we have to account for. Therefore, that leads us into number 3. The absolute value of a number can never be negative. Never be negative. Let's look at this example. If I tell you I want you to help me find the absolute value of -11, let's use our number line up here. Here is 10 and here is 11. On this side and down here, it would be -5, -6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Here is -11. Now, you know from other lessons, +11 and -11 are opposites. That's not what we're referring to here. We want to find the absolute value. So if we look on the number line where -11 is, what is the distance, or how many units of change is there between -11 and 0? Well, there's 11 units of change. There's a distance of 11 units. So the absolute value of -11 is 11. It can never be negative. The fourth thing is the exception to the rule that I told you sometimes happens in math. The only way your answer can be negative is if there is a negative sign in front of the symbol depicting absolute value. So if this is our absolute value symbol and there is a negative sign in front of it, the first thing you have to do is solve for the absolute value of -7, which is 7, and then bring down that negative sign. That is the only way you can have a negative answer. Otherwise, you always default back to number 3. Absolute value is the distance of a number from 0, and it can never be negative. The next thing I want to talk to you about is a couple of just examples. And we went over some in class, but let's just do a couple of these. Here again, I've drawn a number line. Remember, there you're going to be your best friends. If I ask you for the absolute value of negative 13, and I draw a number line, here is 0, right smack dab in the center, and then here is negative 13. What is the distance between negative 13 and 0? The answer is 13. If I then plot the number 4 and I ask for the absolute value of 4, what is the distance between 0 and 4? 4. Notice neither one of those answers can be negative. They're both positive answers. Okay? After we went through these 4 things that I wanted you to learn, we talked about how do we use absolute value in everyday life? What is something that we do in order to use this concept? We talked about in my math class, it's really important for me to teach you not only how to crunch numbers, but how to use this information outside in the real world. So that's what we're going to talk about now. We learned that there are 3 basic ways, and all of them kind of include money, okay, for us to use absolute value in everyday life. The first way is if I were to give you a gift card. If I were to give you a gift card to Target and you had a balance of $100 on that gift card, that meant that you could go and spend $100 at Target, and that balance would be a positive number. But you got to Target and you wanted to go buy that brand new Xbox One game that cost $65, and you made a purchase of that game. That is you subtracting $65 from the $100 you started off with, so that's a negative number. That's a negative number. The way for you to then determine what the remaining balance on the card would be, for you to subtract 65 from 100, and you would then see that, okay, I have $35 remaining. But once I spend that $35 and my balance goes down to 0, I cannot spend more. A credit card is the second way that we can use absolute value. And a credit card really and truly is a special kind of loan, if you will, from a credit card company. A credit card company will approve you for a certain amount that they're going to say, I know you don't have the money in hand, so I'm going to loan you a maximum of, let's say, $1,000. And you can spend that money however you want to. But every single month, you have to start paying me back, or I'm going to charge you more money so that I can make some money off of the loan that I give you. So let's just say that we have a $1,000 balance. That is a positive number. You have $1,000 to spend. But you go to Sam's and you buy a 54-inch TV on sale for $400. That is a purchase that you have made and money that you have spent. And so that becomes a negative number. You are subtracting $400 from the original balance that you started off with. Now, credit cards, every single month are going to make you pay fees. It could be an APR fee, which is the annual percentage rate, or if you happen to make a late payment, they can charge you a fee then. Anytime you have a fee, look down here, a late payment fee, they're always going to be a negative number because they are charging you for not paying back the loan like you should have, or for the convenience of them giving you the loan to begin with. So fees are a negative number. But every single month, you know you're going to have to send a payment into the credit card company. And let's say, for example, you send in, you can't see this really quickly because it got cut off the screens, but I'll move it over. Let's say that you decide to send in $150 towards that TV that you bought. That payment back to the credit card company is a positive number. You are putting that money back onto the credit card. You're not spending it, you're putting it back onto the card. So that payment is a positive amount. So in that particular case, if you started off with $1,000 and you spent $400, you would have a $600 balance. But if you paid back $150, your balance now would be $750, barring you didn't have any fees. The last way that we can use absolute value in everyday life is to use our debit card. Now, we talked about how a gift card, a credit card, and a debit card all look very similar. But debit cards are directly linked to your checking account, to where it only allows you to use the money that you have available to you in your account. And I hope and pray at the beginning of the month, your balance in your account is positive. So whenever you look at a balance, that's a positive number. When you spend money out of your account and you buy things, the bank has a special word for that. They call that you're making a withdrawal from your account, and those are negative numbers. Those are purchases, just like in the other two options. The opposite of that would be to where if you got your paycheck, or you babysat and you got some money for doing that, or you sold something on eBay and you got some money. All of those things are putting money back into your account, and those are a deposit. And so that's going to make your balance go up, and so that would be a positive number. Banks also have fees. Sometimes it's a monthly fee or an overdraft fee. But just like a credit card, if you incur any amount of fees, that is a negative value. The last thing I can think of to talk to you about is we've talked about having a credit of some kind. Let's say that you take back that Xbox One game because you changed your mind. You would get a credit of that $65 to where then if you had spent no other money, you would have a balance again of $100. So a credit of money is a positive number. Guys, I want you to use this information to help you to critically think through everyday problems to help you in your homework and to prepare for the test. Don't forget, I believe in you and you are destined for greatness.